It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today I'm going to be covering apple jelly toppings. These are also known as critical toppings. And one thing I want to immediately point out is that after a lot of testing, we've been able to confirm that when you have a higher critical percentage, it does not modify the amount of critical damage, but rather modifies if you will get a critical hit or not. Now, one thing I also do want to say is that with using skills of cookies, for some reason they are not always hitting critical hits. And I say that because, for instance, on this cookie, latte cookie, I have a 73% critical chance because of the way the upgrades are and of my lab upgrades. And then, with the scythe in hand, that is another 29.8%. So that means that I should technically be hitting a critical hit every single time. But, as you can see when we start this battle, I will run it at slower speed. When we hit our first skill, we do crits to everyone there that first time. But sometimes I've seen where the skill will activate and it just won't do a critical damage. So I'm not sure if skills are being factored differently. Now I'm still going to run this a couple times, show you the results each time, just so you can see the differences. And I am testing against a less established team, just so that way you can see just the results of this cookie that aren't influenced or changed from any other cookie. So as you can see, able to take out the whole team without any issues. Only took about 12 seconds. So that critical damage did quite a lot. Now, what I'm going to do just to show you comparisons is I'm going to actually take off the toppings and show you just the base damage and how long it takes to get through that same team. If it's able. It might not be able to, but we'll see. Okay, so it was able to. The scythe probably did help getting some criticals, but it took 14 seconds. So it was about a 2-second difference in that sense. Now, yet again, for comparisons, we're going to go ahead and equip attack toppings, or the searing toppings, I should say, as these are traditionally the meta right now with most attack and AoE damage type of cookies. And see, as you can see, still does a lot of damage. Well, let's see the comparisons. So that run took 9 seconds. So what you can see here is that speed-wise, searing did more damage, thus took less time for the battle to be done, but that was with a scythe equipped. If we remove the scythe, and let's just do only a scroll, so that way no possible chances of critical hits. Or I should say lower chances, because I only have a 13% base. So this is still searing toppings. So I almost didn't get through with just the scroll and searing toppings. Almost did not get through. It was 23 seconds. Now, same comparison, we'll just keep scythe off, we'll keep the attack robes off, and we will just equip the critical toppings. And so we can see the differences here. And as you can see, crits still happen because a 3/4 chance of landing a critical, it's hard to not have that happen. And with the attack speed down, it's still, of course, going to take longer. But let's see the time comparison. 18 seconds. So it's 5 seconds faster because we were landing criticals, almost assuredly. Now, the reason Searing did better that one run was because the Scythe was equipped. So that was giving at least a 40% chance of a critical. So, if you're in a situation where you can run the Scythe, then Searing will do better because you'll have the high damage and high critical percentages. So that will give you the benefit in that situation. But most people are either running robes or feather, and then usually the clock. And so if the clock's there and the robes or the feather are there for whatever your team build is, you don't have room to run the Scythe to get higher critical potentials, which means in that situation you would want to run the critical apple jellies because you will, on average, do higher damage than the attack Searing toppings. Now I'm going to take it into a story mode so that way you can see what it looks like there. So let's go to 11-1. Should be strong enough. Okay. So we're going to use just Latte. We will kick up attack speed. And we will lower down the cooldown because I have enough confidence that the 73% critical rate should just carry us through as far as getting criticals. So let's see what we get. Yep, hitting that crit symbol every time. Okay, so the mode's too strong for just her. But to give fair comparison, before we put any cookies on in addition, let's add Searing and give that same exact test. And see if that does make any difference. So no criticals coming up. Didn't survive that either. Okay. So what I'll do is, to keep her alive but not to skew damage odds, I will add just healers. Specifically healers. Okay. Now, let's go back to the apple jelly toppings and rerun. So once again, this is not a be-all, end-all. You need to run only apple jelly toppings. Just situationally, as you can see, more damage is being done with the apple jellies. Apparently my healers are not fast enough to keep Latte alive. That's okay. I'm pretty sure that they've nerfed World 10, so I'll go back to 1031 and just show you that. So let's go there. 1031. Okay. Healer's still there for the sake of survival. Yep, crit, 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 crit. There was one non-crit there with a 73% chance out of 10 hits. Demolish the entire team, or the entire enemy force, I should say. Let's see how it handles against the boss. And we'll do time comparison too, because we'll go ahead and add Searing back on and test that same exact run in this 10-31 dark mode to see the differences. Cake Witch is definitely taking a lot of damage. Healers are stabilizing just fine. Okay, on to secondary boss. First time I fought this, I was so surprised. I was like, wait, there's a second fight? It was like, oh, that's not even fair. Now when I look back, I'm like, okay, I see it. I get it. And of course, my higher lab upgrades, my cookie bonds, the monuments I have, they all do make a difference in the scale of power, but the results still stand the same for anyone who has lower level cookies, lower level fragments. It's still the same ideal. It's just harder to hit those same metrics since you don't have the exact same statistics that I do. But the principles still apply. So even if you're, let's say, level 30 cookies and fighting in the arena against somebody, and you're able to use the clock and the robes and the feather, and you want to hit critical hits really fast with some of your strongest hitting cookies that do AoE damage, apple jellies will probably be more beneficial to you in that situation. Where, let's say, you're in the arena and you need to run a speed comp, then you're going to want to run Searing because you already know you're running a critical scythe, and therefore that's going to be skewing the difference of your overall build. Okay, so that one just ran out of time. Let's see if Searing has the exact same issue. The reason I chose Latte Cookie was that her ability has that continuous damage, and Hollyberry and a few other cookies, they can deflect a good amount of damage, except if it's continuous damage. So Mushroom Cookie, Latte Cookie, few others, they can deal continuous damage. And because of this, that makes it more effective against cookies like Hollyberry, Milk Cookie, and Madeline Cookie. So we're still doing good. Still doing good damage to the boss. It's taken us a little bit longer to get to the secondary boss. Okay, we just finally got there. Let's see if we can pull it off in the minute and 30. I think at the rate of the damage that we're doing as it's chipping away, I do not think that this will be able to finish the run either. But it's a good comparison because you're able to see between the two times how much more damage has been dealt from one build to the other. And just the Searing has less critical potential. Now, in fairness, you could build a 15% critical substat on Searing toppings, but in most situations, if you're running Searing, you're running attack, damage resist, and cooldown as your substats for the most damage output. If you wanted to run critical as a substat, you would either have to give up damage resistance or cooldown, because then you're not running attack stats. So it's a hard switch between that. So it's definitely situational. But I did want to bring this to you guys today so that way I could show you the capabilities of apple jelly toppings. As you've seen, Twizzly Gummy and Cream Puff benefit from these for sure, especially because of their skills. So certain skills will benefit from apple jellies even more than other cookies. But feel free to play around with it. Look at it, see how it goes for you. If you're not comfortable investing too much toppings in it, just level them to level 6. That way you can at least get their pretty decent bonus, which I believe at level 6 is 6%. So 6 times 5 is 30% critical bonus at level 6. You can stop there, get a really high critical bonus, and not worry about the other substats if you wanted to just test it out. That shouldn't be too much toppings. I think you could do a full build of apple jelly toppings at level 6 for about 230 topping pieces, which should only take a day or two if you're farming correctly, which I'll cover in another video. But if you guys have comments, ideas, anything you want to add as feedback, I'd love to hear it. I'm testing every single topping on all cookies over time as I can, to see what's the most effective for their skills and their builds. But thank you so much for stopping by, and you guys have a wonderful day.